In this LeetCode problem, we need to find the index of the first occurrence in a string. So we're given two strings, a haystack and a needle. We want to return the index of the first occurrence of needle in the haystack, or a -1 if our needle is just not part of the haystack at all. So we have these examples here you can look at. You also have these constraints. If you know what to do, start coding and pause the video and we can check our solutions. If you need some help, well, first off, what I'm going to do is have a for loop, an outer for loop. We'll just make a skeleton of this code right now. And this for loop is going to run for the entire length of our haystack so that we can look at every element or character in our string. And then inside of here, we'll have an if statement, and we'll say that if the starting character or the character that we're currently looking at is equal to the starting character of our needle, well, we will want to be inside of here. And we'll use a for loop to compare every character in our needle to the next characters of our haystacks. If it is something that we want, well, then we can return if it's at the very end. Otherwise, we will just not. So this is pretty much our entire for loop. If we don't return inside of here, which I'll create in a second, we are going to want to eventually just return a -1 because it's -1 if the needle is not part of the haystack. We know in our outer for loop, we want to go through the entire length of our haystack, but once we get to the end or near the end of our haystack, we want to not go anymore. And that's going to be based off what this needle is. Because notice, if our needle is like sad and it is a size of 3, well, once we have 3 characters left, that's it. If we go past this, we're going to get an out of bounds. So we need to have a check for that. We'll have int a is equal to 0. This is going to run from 0 all the way up until our haystack dot length, because the haystack should be the bigger of the two. We'll have a check for this as well, and we'll have haystack dot length minus our needle dot length. But we're going to want to run it all the way till the very end of both of these subtracted together. So this should actually be less than or equals to. Now we are going to have another condition here, and this condition is to make sure that our needle is less than our haystack. So we want to also run this as long as needle dot length is less than, we could say less than or equal to. That works as well because if they're the same length, it could be exactly the same word. So as long as our needle.length is less than our haystack.length. And then after we do all of this, we could have our semicolon and then a++. Big header for our for loop. Inside of here, our if statement is going to check whether our current a is equivalent to the first character in our needle. So what we're going to have to do, since this is C++, is get the index in our string of this character. So we're going to say if the a in our haystack, so haystack index a, is equal to our needle index 0. This one can be fixed because it's always just going to check the very front. And then we're going to want to be inside of here. And this is saying that we have a possible needle. And now we want to run through not only our needle, but our haystack, because we have to compare the next characters. But we don't actually want to modify the a itself because we still need to look at the next values, and if we modify the a, we could be skipping values. So let's make a reference to it. Int index will be equal to a, and so this is going to be like the a inside of here. In this for loop, we want to go through our needle, comparing it to this index now. So we're going to have for int b is equal to 0, and b has to be less than our needle dot length. After this, we're going to just have a b++, but we also have to increment our index, so we'll also have an index++. Inside of here is the main part of our program. We're basically going to check if they are not equal. That's going to be the easiest, because we'll just break out of this. And we're going to break out of this initial loop, still be in this outer loop though, because we have possibly more to compare. So we're going to stay, and we can actually copy this because it's going to be quite similar to this. If the haystack with our reference index is equal to needle at b, if they're not equal, we got to fix that, then we're just going to break. And again, we break out of this loop. We can check for the very end, and if we're basically at the end and they're still the same, we can return our current A value. That's another reason why we shouldn't change it. So we'll say else if, and our condition here will be if our B is equal to our needle dot length -1. And the reason why we do -1 is because length is 1 more than index. So that's the way we would do that here. That's why we always do this as long as it's less than, not less than equal to. Anyways, if it's at the very end, we're going to want to return our current A value. So we'll keep doing this, and when we're eventually done, we'll either return a -1 or we'll return an A. We pass with a 0 millisecond runtime and 6.50 megabytes of memory use. Pretty good. It's accepted. If you have any questions about this LeetCode problem, please leave a comment below. And if you liked the video, leave a like. And if you want more C++ practice problems, check out that playlist link below the like button.